Before we go into this episode, I need to read a little disclaimer. I need to read it in English because the conversation of this episode is in English, and in German because I'm living in Germany, so I operate under German law here. Disclaimer. This podcast episode is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Neither Michael Stroev nor Christian Gleitze are financial advisors. There are risks involved in placing any investment in securities or in Bitcoin or in cryptocurrencies or in anything. None of the information presented herein is intended to form the basis of any offer or recommendation or have any regard to the investment objectives, financial situation, or needs of any specific person, and that includes you as listener or reader. Everything in this episode is for informational entertainment purposes only. Hinweis. Diese Podcast-Episode dient ausschließlich zur Information und zur Unterhaltung. Weder Michael Stroev noch Christian Gleitze sind Finanz- oder Investmentberater. In Wertpapiere, Bitcoin, Kryptowährung oder in irgendetwas zu investieren birgt Risiken. Keine der Informationen in dieser Podcast-Episode sind beabsichtigt, irgendeine Form von Angebot oder Empfehlung zu Investmentzielen, finanziellen Situationen oder Bedürfnissen einer spezifischen Person darzustellen, inklusive dir als Zuhörer oder Leser. Vielen Dank und jetzt viel Spaß mit der Episode. Enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Connecting Dots podcast with Michael Stroev. I hope I'm getting your name right. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you, Christian.
For this episode, my guest is Michael. As I said, he's COO, Chief Operating Officer of, in German, we would say Nebeus. In English, maybe we would say Nebeus. And Nebeus is a London-based startup that bridges crypto and cash with instant loans and financial services for everyday use. We will get into what exactly that means. Michael is active in the startup world since 2016, at first as founder of 2 startups and now as COO and head of product at Nebeus or Nebeus. So at first I would like to get to know Michael as a person, a bit his founder story, and then we will go more into the crypto nerd talk. For which we both have to be patient because our audience is not a crypto audience, but a crypto layperson audience. So we need to make sure that everybody, or at least most of them, can follow us along. So why don't we start with the following? You lived and worked in Moscow, Paris, Turin, Italy, New York, and Barcelona, right?
That's correct. But I didn't live in Turin. I was working kind of like I was spending time there and traveling there from Paris and going back to Paris. So I didn't live there, but I spent quite a while there. Okay,
but it's on your international CV. So I think you're so far the most international person, the most international guest of the podcast. Nice. So how did living in so many different countries shape you personally?
Listen, I think traveling is very big and very important for any single person. I think I'm multicultural from birth. I'm half Russian, half French. So just like from birth, I started being multicultural and getting immersed in 2 cultures. Then I actually grew up in the US when I was a kid. Then I moved back to Europe. And then I traveled around for work and everything else. I think, so again, I am born multicultural. I became multicultural. That made me more open to things. Like when you travel, you meet new people, you discover new cultures, etc. You become more aware, right? And I think one big influence of that is creativity. It really boosts your creativity, your ideation processes, right? Just because you're kind of like, let's say, you know what's happening in different countries at the same time, you know the cultures, you understand, and you can kind of like be on the brink of things at the same time, if that makes sense. So I think that's how it affected me, and I would recommend it to anyone.
It's very funny that you add this as a recommendation because in the past few months I had several guests on who also worked and lived in various countries, and they all added young people should go out and see the world, live abroad. It changes you fundamentally.
I think Richard Branson. I read a quote of his once and says like, if you want to start creating business ideas or something, the first thing that you need to do is get out the door and start traveling. Because it's not by sitting at home that you're gonna, let's say, stumble upon a fantastic new concept or idea. It's only by, let's say, opening yourself to new experiences and ideas and thoughts, cultures, people, that you're going to really, create something.
Maybe the metaphor of, I mean, he means it in a literal sense, to go out the door, but maybe it's also a metaphor here for stepping out of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah, of course.
And being in a country where you don't speak the language, or just very badly, makes you vulnerable in a positive way. You know, you feel like you're not that socially established and accepted. You know.
I'm kind of in that situation now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I'm based in Barcelona, and like I speak a tiny bit of Spanish. I understand Spanish, but like it's nowhere near my English or any other language that I speak. So for me, it's kind of I'm very often in situations where I need help, like someone, like I need to read a website, I can't read it, I need to use Google Translate websites, someone sends me an agreement, I can't read it, so I need to kind of like go through all these like complicated steps to understand, right, to be understood. And people do speak English here, but it's there's still this like slight barrier that's always like here, and you always notice it.
Yeah, I lived in Spain myself, and where I lived in Murcia, in the southeast, they speak, even less people there speak English. So there I really had to learn it. And I'm sure in Barcelona, some people don't want to speak Spanish because they identify as Catalan. So they speak Catalan, right?
Yeah, but no, everyone speaks Spanish. I haven't really, well, unless I don't understand Spanish to understand that they're speaking Spanish, which is a possibility. But I haven't found the person that like that I identify to be a Catalan and only speaks Catalan. Although, yeah, I'm sure that does exist, but maybe not in Barcelona. Maybe in Catalonia as a whole. In other, let's say, like smaller cities, towns, villages, probably.
I see, yeah. And I saw on your CV that you spent quite a bit of time in the corporate world, at big corporations, right? So how or why did you go from the corporate world to the startup scene in 2016?
Corporate world is very, let's say, fixed, right? It's developed. It's a different type of world. The startup world is more interesting and it's more creative. You're really truly building something new, right? I like building. I like creating. I build products. I build startups. I build concepts, and that's what I want to do. That's why I switched. Corporate world is cool, and I mean it's a great experience. Like when I first started working, it was in a corporate company, right, and in the corporate world, and I mean most of my business experience comes from there, right? My business attitudes, the way I communicate with people, even the way I send emails, right? Which is like, it's something super small, but it's true. It really influences the way that you speak and think about business. So obviously, I took that knowledge, I took it with me to the startup world, and the startup world is just cooler. It's more interesting.
I guess so, yeah. And your first two startups, what were they about? What did you do there? What was the product?
The first one, it wasn't really a startup. It was a startup business. It was like a photography agency, and that was a complete mess of a project. Like I went in with like an idea that, okay, I want to leave the corporate world. I want to go into the startup world, small business world, whatever it may be. I want to build something of my own. I liked photography. I knew I had goals, so I tried to combine both, but with no clear path. It was kind of like, okay, I want to do this, and let's see how it goes. Then at first it was like, oh, I'm gonna build an online gallery. Then that online gallery shifted to a physical gallery. Then the physical gallery shifted to a photography agency that I ran for 2 years actually. So it was a mess because I started out with no clear goals, targets. I just had like, ideas, and I wanted to do it, and I was like, that's it, I'm all in, which I definitely do not recommend people to do. But yeah, that was my first my first let's say startup ish experience.
So the big lesson was you should have a clear plan, a clear like business plan.
Yeah, you need to know what you're doing, who you're targeting, what you're going for. I mean, no, like, don't get me wrong. All startups are all hypotheses, right? So it's kind of like the best plan is no plan in some case, but you really need to know what you're doing and at least like who you're targeting, the timelines, the budgets, like everything. If you're kind of like going in with absolutely no plan, it's possible, and people have done it and been successful. I mean, look, I ran AlterU for 2 years, and it was pretty successful. It helped me like maintain the quality of life that I had at the time. But at the end of the day, it wasn't gonna, like, I left it because I wasn't gonna raise like millions of dollars with AlterU, with that agency. It was kind of like everything was based on me. It was very like a classical agency approach. So if I stop working, the whole agency stops. It's not something that was scalable. I couldn't raise funds with venture capital for like firms or anything like that. It wasn't really a startup per se. So
okay. Yeah. So let's do one lesson per startup or one lesson per business. If this was the lesson at your first startup, or let's say venture, adventure, what was one of the bigger lessons of your second startup? Ooh. And what did you do at the second one?
Interesting. Listen, the second one I made was Deskmates. It was a social network for co-working spaces. That was a true startup. And I mean, I can't like identify, let's say, lessons learned per startup. I can identify lessons learned generally, right? And I think the most important thing I can say is the team is the most important thing. Idea, yeah, you can get an idea. It can be amazing. It can be cool. Thousands of people have amazing ideas. These ideas never turn into anything, because the most important, in my understanding and from my perspective, is the team. If you have the team, if you have the trust, if you're really working towards a goal together, magic will happen. But even if you have a team and you don't have an idea, right? But you're, let's say, 2 or 3 people that are highly like specialized in a specific area, you can create an idea, and it will be successful. It could be successful. So for me, it's like team is super important.
It's so funny how often you hear that the idea is not worth that much. Just just tomorrow or just now, I was editing an episode with a local founder from Hopefully from a co-living startup, and he said, because I said, well, idea is maybe 10% of the success and 90% is execution, and he said 10%, no, it's less than 1%. He said, and you hear that a lot. Ideas are not that worth that much if the execution is shit. So how much in percentage would you say is the idea worth?
I wouldn't say 1%. No, that's because I mean, you still need an idea. You still need like a solid, let's say, proven, like again, model, right? Something that you're gonna like go for and earn money with. Obviously, that can be developed with time. I don't know. Let's say 40-60, maybe something like this.
That much. Okay.
Maybe.
Good. Yeah.
I don't know. 30-70, perhaps, I would say.
Yeah.
It really depends on what you're doing. I mean, you know, and it really depends on the people who are around you and who the team is around. If I mean, look, let's put it this way: if you're if me, myself, and my co-founder are all, let's say, X startup, let's say, founders with like, and we've like exited multi-million dollar projects. I mean, you know, that's worth much more. If we're junior startup founders and it's our first project, then the idea is gonna be a lot more heavy, right? Than you, because ultimately, any startup, when investors invest, they invest not only in the idea, then they invest in you and the person that's founding that startup. So if you have an incredible background, right, that's more heavy than the idea, That's it. If you have not a lot of background, then the idea is more important. So it's always there's no clear cut.
Yeah. Some investors sometimes put it as they don't invest on the horse, but on the jockey, in the jockey.
Exactly.
And
that's what happens.
And then just to bring your startup journey to where you are now, you're now at a crypto startup. So how did this come about?
So 2020 was a roller coaster for me, and I think for everyone.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. I had my startup that was called Deskmates. Well, the one that I told you about was it's called Social Network for Co-working Spaces. I moved to New York to fundraise on the 1st of March 2020.
Oh no, that got there March. Yeah.
On the 1st of March 2020, I landed in New York. I was like, Big Apple, that's it. I'm in the place to be. This is gonna be crazy and everything. And then 1 week later, it's just like the whole world shuts down. and we lose our target market within 1 week, 2 weeks. Let's say co-working spaces, so we're gone. So we were kind of sitting there like, what do we do? And actually in 8 days, we built another startup called Vidi, which is similar to Clubhouse right now, actually.
Oh, really?
Probably knows. Well, not Clubhouse per se, but it was a social network for video conferencing. Exactly, kind of like what we're doing now, right? So it was supposed to be Clubhouse, but with video, with Zoom, right? Where people could monetize their events, create a whole platform, like again, to socialize, to to talk, like like during the pandemic. We created that. We created the platform. We created the social network. We released the app, and let's say all like from mid-March up until like the end of summer, I was working on that project unsuccessfully. we didn't find the product market fit. We realized that the project was going nowhere. That people just it was like everything was so chaotic. People were still using LinkedIn to share events. People were using Facebook to share events. So, I mean, we were going after like people who were creators and trying to get them to join our platform. But it's always the chicken and an egg scenario with any startup, with any social network. Like if you have a crowd of people, other people will join. If you don't have that crowd, people don't want to join. But who comes first, right? You need like the people. For people to join, like you need people. It's like chicken and egg. So yeah, we unfortunately weren't successful. And I got involved into crypto because I was just called by fellow investors who knew all of my 2020 journey, and they told me, hey, there's this startup that's looking for someone that's going to be developing their products. Do you want to join? Crypto was something that I never even considered joining, to be honest. Crypto was like, 2016, 2017, I avoided crypto. I was like, no, I'm not getting into this. Like during the first crypto hype, I like people would always come and ask me like, hey, have you invested in Bitcoin or did you buy anything? Like, nope.
It was 17, 18, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, nope.
But what exactly were your concerns or your like? What was your thinking?
There was too much hype. Everyone like let's say I like to think different, right? I like to find things that are unique and different. And when the whole world is like talking Bitcoin, I was kind of like, well, you know what? Like if everyone's talking about this now, I'm gonna wait a few years and I might get into it in a few years, which is exactly what I did.
Yeah.
What I ended up doing. But yeah, that was kind of my thinking. Like I didn't want to be involved in this mainstream, let's say, vibe and wave of people like, let's say, talking about Bitcoin mining, and let's say most of the people that actually didn't even understand crypto or Bitcoin or blockchain at the time. They were just talking about it to be cool. All right, but for me, it was kind of like, no, I'm avoiding this. But hey, 2020, I'm in crypto.
And so the investors suggested it, and then you met the founders of Nebeus. And can you say the names? Do I say it correctly?
It's Nebeus. Well, listen, you say it right. It's Nebeus.
Nebeus.
It's Nebeus or Nebeus. I say Nebeus because I am more American English than English. So my pronunciation is Nebeus. But in Spain, it's Nebeus. In French,
Okay.
it's Nebeus. In French, it's Nebeus.
Okay, yeah. No, good.
Really,
and then you met the founders of Nebeus, and how did you know that it's a good fit, that it's the right thing for you now?
I didn't.
You didn't, but I mean, there must be. I mean, there must be something about the founders, about your interaction, where you felt, okay, this is right, we get along.
Listen, don't forget that this was all during the pandemic. I'm in Barcelona now. The startup is based between London and Barcelona. When I was involved in my first conversations, I was in the US, and I was actually in Portland in the US, which is like on the Pacific Northwest. So like it's like I didn't meet face to face. I had a few Zoom calls, but that's pretty much it. So like for me, it was more, let's say, trust in the people that recommended me to go there, right? And it was a leap of faith as well. It was a leap of faith, and I looked at the project. I thought that it was something that it was interesting. Right, I liked the idea. That's it. But it's you never know with these things. It's like you can have your project and find a co-founder, and it's always going to be a leap of faith. Even if you have the best relationship you have, even if you're close friends, it's always a leap of faith. You never know what's going to happen 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, a year. It's so much can change.
But that adds much. That adds a lot to the excitement of this founder journey, right? Of the startup journey. You got to have a lot of trust, work hard on it, and make it work. And when did you notice? When were you convinced? It's the right thing to do now.
3 weeks into joining the startup. Yeah, when I 2 weeks into joining the startup, actually. Yeah, when I came here, I was like, the relationship I built with the team was very strong. Everything that we were doing was super powerful and interesting, with a huge perspective. And right there and then, I knew that okay, this is something that's great. And I like building great things. I like building really kick-ass projects. Something that really how do you say, revolutionizes, potentially, disrupts. That's the word I was looking for. So yeah.
And why Barcelona, Spain, and not France or Russia? I'm saying this because you're part. We didn't say this when we were actually recording. You're part French, part Russian.
No, I said it. I said it at the start. I said that I'm half French, half Russian. Why? Because, well, listen, the startup is based here, and that's one. Two, honestly, Barcelona is it's one of the best cities I've lived in. Really, it's one of the best cities I've lived in. I've lived in a lot of places, as you know, and Barcelona is really fantastic. I've been here for a little bit more than 6 months, and it's just, I don't know, it's mind-blowing. For example, my birthday is in December. Usually my birthday is always cold, wet, snowy, and I can't do anything except for have a party indoors. This year I had a birthday party on the beach. Playing volleyball. I was like, wow, okay, this is a first. So yeah, it's a combination of things, and honestly, the fact that we're based in Barcelona is super cool, and I'm pretty lucky to be here. It's also a startup hub, actually, for those for people who are curious. Barcelona is actually a pretty big startup hub, and it's developing every single year. I think in 2019, the total investment in Barcelona startups was about 870 million euros in the year in startup investments, venture capital investment. That number probably bumped up, and actually no, it probably didn't bump up in 2020. In 2021, we'll see. But yeah, it was going like that. It was going. People from Germany were moving here. Companies from Germany were moving here because they wanted the good weather and the good vibe.
Yeah. On what day? My birthday is in December as well. On what day is your birthday in December?
8th.
On the 8th. Yeah, I was in my Erasmus semester in Murcia, Spain, on my birthday, it was such a culture shock to sit outside in a cafe, 25 degrees in December. I mean, the German December is much different. Let me tell
Exactly.
you.
Exactly what I'm saying. It's like, you know, every time my birthday is approaching, I'm like, man, I would love to like have like some, like, you know, like a barbecue outside, something relaxed, you know, just like, you know, indoors because it's raining and cold and etc.
And what is your day-to-day work look like as COO? What are your core tasks?
Oh God, everything, everything from start to finish: operations, product, marketing, legal, compliancy, everything, supports, like everything from start to finish. We're in a startup, right? Startup is a burning hell every single day. Startup, you need to be delivering every single day. Every single week counts. Every single day counts. A week is a year. 2 weeks is 2 years. I mean, that's a startup. And for any person that says otherwise, they don't know what a startup is probably. Like I've had people that have told me that, like I've actually, one of my ex co-founders told me a thing. He's like, a startup is not a race, it's a marathon. He told me that once. I don't agree with that one single bit. A startup is a marathon, obviously, yeah, because you're in it for the long run, and I totally agree with it. But it's a freaking race, because really, like, you're competing against thousands of other startups. Again, like, until you get to that level where you're really comfortable, let's say like a Series B or Series C, I don't know, you have like $200 million in funds raised or something, or even more. You can say that, okay, now it's a marathon. But even so, like it's like the mentality of a startup is totally different to corporate. That's another reason why I left corporate.
With one founder of a big scale up called Emma, we found the metaphor of a marathon roller coaster ride, because it's also so much up and down, like emotionally and with the business itself. So a marathon roller coaster ride sounds like a hell of a thing to be in. And are you also pitching a lot at the moment?
Not right now. Not right now, but I will be pitching starting, let's say, hopefully within the next 2 weeks. I do pitch. I do pitch right now. I do pitch, let's say, like once every 2 weeks, but we're not fundraising currently. We are going to be relaunching our fundraising process within 2-3 weeks. That's why I'm saying 2-3 weeks. So I'm ramping up and getting prepared. But yeah, so
yeah. Before we get into the crypto details, I'm sure you were also pitching a lot in the last 4 to 5 years. What were some of your core lessons in pitching?
As I already mentioned, that any founder is also selling himself, right? He's not just selling his idea; he's selling himself, right? So I think the most important is to not be nervous, right? To understand what gets you nervous, and like to kind of have a process for, let's say, being calm and like presenting the idea correctly, yourself and the idea correctly. One technique, again, this is prior to Zoom calls that I used to do, and this was like, for me, it worked super well. I come into a meeting, people come in, I don't know, say like 5 people, 2 people, whatever, 10 people come in, right? I would stand up, I would go around the room, I would personally shake the hand of every single person, look them in the eye, say, "Hi, nice to meet you." And then I would go back and start talking. When I did that, I noticed that people in that room, well, first of all, it helped me kind of build a connection with the person that I'm shaking hands with. I'm like, okay, so this is me, this is you. But then I actually noticed in the eyes of the people that I was, whose hand I was shaking, that they were actually becoming more nervous than me, because they weren't expecting like me to come up to them like, "Hello," So that's a technique that I did. I probably will do when it's appropriate again, or the fist bump in COVID.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've never heard that. And you mentioned find out what makes you nervous. What makes you nervous?
I don't know. You know what? I don't like presenting, actually. Like, I don't like public speaking. Like what I'm doing right now, I'm actually nervous. it might not sound like it, but I actually like, I don't know. It's always a battle in my head. Like I like it and I don't like it, but I'm always nervous and kind of like I have a process that I need to go through before every single like talk or chat or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, you're doing a hell of a job. I couldn't tell you're nervous, but that's what people told me when I was like at an event, and I was a moderator, and it was like live streamed online, and I was nervous as shit. Oh my god, I was so nervous, and everybody told me, "Hey, what? We didn't see it. We didn't notice." So, and one of my core lessons there is, maybe you're doing much better, or maybe I'm doing much better than I think. You know?
Yeah, that's another thing actually. That's very important. Like I'm very perfectionist in my head, and it's very important to understand that you don't need to be perfect. Actually, if no one's perfect, like there is no definition of perfect. So if you even make like a small mistake, it's kind of like, okay, so yeah, everyone does. Like listen to the interviews of Elon Musk. If you want to understand what I'm talking about.
He's not that good of a public speaker.
He's really, really not that good. Like he's super smart, but like the way he talks, it's kind of like
But I think what makes that interesting and unique is that he actually thinks before he speaks, and that is very rare in our world.
Yes, it is true. Although I do think if you're telling me that I don't think before I speak, I do think. I do tend to try and speak fast all the time, but I don't know. It is true that I catch myself in the thought that it's okay also sometimes to kind of like slow down, think, speak, and there's nothing wrong with it. You know, absolutely, nothing wrong with it at all.
Before we get into the crypto things, a question I like a lot is finding out what inspires my guests. So what were some of your sources of inspiration? Could be books, people, podcasts, movies, whatever.
Books. Me, it's actually books. I in all honesty, I don't really. I'm not a big podcast guy. For me, it's kind of I'm not really like for me, kind of like listening to a podcast on YouTube. I find it time consuming, right? And I'm more like okay, audiobooks and books. There are people who like audiobooks. There are people who like books. I cannot do audiobooks. Like no way. Like I hate audiobooks. I tried it once, and like halfway through the sentences that I was listening to, like I would like space out because I'm looking at like a tree and I see a bird flying by. and usually if you're reading a book, if you do space out, you can always like go like you read the line. Whereas here I need to stay. Oh shit! I need to get my iPhone out. I need to play pause, rewind.
I know what you mean.
So no, me it's books, and me it's definitely books, and do you need recommendations?
Yeah, what books? Like name 2 or 3 books that you like really liked.
Creativity Inc. By Ed Catmull. I don't know.
It's a Disney guy, right?
Yeah, Pixar Studio.
Pixar,
Studio.
Yeah,
Pixar Studio.
Yeah.
Pixar Studio. The way again, his story of how he founded that company, how he founded Pixar, where he came from. Pixar was obviously also one of the. Wait, was he investor? Or was he co-founder? I can't remember anymore. Steve Jobs was in Pixar. He was
founder.
He was co-founder, exactly. So it was kind of like I was also reading. While reading that book, I was also reading like another story from the side of a business partner of Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs was one of the key characters in that book as well. And that was super cool because it's like you're not reading a book about Steve Jobs, you're reading a book about someone else who is involved with Steve Jobs a lot. So that was super interesting to read, and it's a really inspiring book. Another one is The Hard Thing About Hard Things.
Yeah.
Ben Horowitz.
Yeah, of Andreessen and Horowitz. Yeah.
Exactly. And that book really kind of, let's say, layers out management, styles of management, and kind of like classifies people per their management style. I highly recommend that book to anyone who's like near a management role. It's super important. If you're not in a managerial like role, or don't think you're going to be there soon, then I wouldn't probably recommend that book to you, because that book is really, let's say, high level focused. But yeah, it's kind of like changed the way I view top level C-level executives and like people that I deal with, and even when I'm hiring, the way I view people, the way I hire, and the way I classify people. Yeah, super good and inspiring book.
It gives you managerial frameworks for how to operate and categorize people.
Yeah. Well, at least that's what it did for me.
Okay. Yeah,
at the same time as hearing Ben Horowitz's story, which was also fantastic, and I think the whole first part of the book is kind of like an intro and a background on his experience, and I read it like extremely fast. It flew because it was just so interesting to read. The whole .com era and everything.
Cool, yeah. He's a fascinating guy with a lot of experience going back to the 90s. I think it was him that invented or co-invented the Netscape browser, right? Or was it Andreessen? One of those guys, yeah.
No, it was him. It was him if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Okay, so how do you explain to a layperson what your startup is doing?
Bitcoin. Crypto. We do crypto. No, but our main product is loans. We do crypto-backed loans. So let's put it this way: if you bought Bitcoin and have invested in Bitcoin, so you have an investment, right, that you don't want to sell. You've invested that money. It's money that it's an investment, and any investment you invest in it because you hope that the investment will grow, right? So there's no point of you investing if tomorrow you need to sell it, right? But imagine you do, right? And there always comes a time, any investor, whether it's crypto or stocks, right, where a person ends up in a situation where he just needs cash right now, right? And usually at that point, people sell. What Nebeus does is we allow people not to sell that crypto, right? But use that crypto to get cash without selling the crypto, right? To getting a loan, right? So we give basically 80%, up to 80% of the value of the cryptocurrency, right, for a certain amount of time, right, in euros, GBP, or dollars, as a loan for you to pay for your daily expenses. I don't know, finance a business, buy a house if you want. It's like there are no limits to what you can do. We do focus on, let's say, everyday use, right? So we built Nebeus for people who really need cash, like daily, like quick. Like one of our products is called Quick Loans, and a person can literally just like with a click of one button, he can get a loan up to 500 euros with 0% interest for 3 months. So that's our core product, and the whole idea of Nebeus is like we help people use their cryptocurrencies without selling them, right?
Got it. Okay.
Is that kind of how does that sound?
I think I got it. Let's find out by me suggesting a specific use case if I understood it. So let's say I put 10,000 euro in Bitcoin, and now I think I need 2,000 euro because I want some new fancy podcast equipment. Then I can come to your company, Nebeus, and I can tell you, hey, I need 2,000 euro from this Bitcoin investment. as a loan, so I can put it to work in like podcast equipment.
Exactly. Yeah, you can do that, but you don't need to tell us. we're not a B2B business. We're a platform. So you sign up, you create a user account, you transfer your crypto onto our platform. That's it. And then once it's on the platform with like 2-3 clicks, you can get the loan. You can choose your terms, choose your interest rate, choose the loan to value ratio. So like, again, how much of the cash are you getting in correlation with the amount of crypto that you have. That's it. And you get the cash straight away onto your Nebeus account, and you can transfer that cash onto your bank card and start spending.
I think I understood a crypto product. That's great. I'm really happy about it. But what cryptocurrency itself is, I think is hard to understand. And so far, I didn't really encounter anybody, and I listened to a lot of podcasts that explained it in a way that everybody understands. Because at some point, I feel like people just have to state, yeah, and then there's this complicated blockchain technology, but if the experts would explain it further, they would lose the layperson because it really is complicated. I also read the white paper of Satoshi Nakamoto. I don't know shit about math. I don't get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend anyone who's not technical to read that. I glanced over it, honestly. I looked over some of the things. I read his quotes and things like that, but I didn't read the white paper. No. I mean, cryptocurrencies and blockchains are super complicated to understand. The whole concept is incredible, and I think that, but they're hard to understand. And I think that's one of the downsides of cryptocurrencies right now. Is that for a person to really kind of be able to talk about crypto in a way that they really understand it, or blockchain, they need to read at least 2 books. So please show me a person on this planet who is going to read 2 books about something just to be able to have a conversation about that product, about that thing. You do have people, obviously, right? But I can tell you this, that I guarantee you that most people that invest at least small sums of money in cryptocurrencies, they Googled, they YouTubed, but they don't. So they have a notion, but they're not, pros, and they can't really talk about it to, like a so high degree at all.
Yeah. No, but maybe we can gather some additional aspects that make us understand it a bit better. So one big difference, obviously, is you cannot have it in your wallet. It's just, it lives in a digital world, on a digital space, so to say.
Well, so it's decentralized on the blockchain, right? So that, but again, this was the original concept, right? That it's decentralized, it's on the blockchain. So I can't, honestly, I'm not even the best person to explain what a blockchain is, but basically you have a wallet to which you own the key, right? But you don't have the physical wallet on you. You can access it. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows in the world that that wallet exists, and that wallet is yours because it's validated by proof, right, on the blockchain. That's the concept, and that's the original concept. Nebeus is different, though. Like our platform is different because we're centralized, right? So when you transfer your Bitcoins to us, we act like a financial institution, meaning that we keep your Bitcoin. We hold the keys to your wallet, right? And we are the controlling authority. And there's a big talk right now of CeFi. We're centralized, it's called CeFi. Decentralized is called DeFi. And there's a huge talk always about DeFi, CeFi, what's better, what's more secure, what's less secure. DeFi is becoming super popular right now. We're CeFi. I can tell you that CeFi is a lot more secure. There are less hacks that happen on CeFi. DeFi is you never know who let's say if it's a blockchain, if it's obviously Bitcoin is one thing, but right now you have loads of DeFi projects that were built on various and developed on various protocols and codes. It's very difficult to validate those codes most of the time. You don't know who wrote them. They're easily hackable. And the idea of Satoshi originally is that it's hack-proof. Well, not really. It is possible to hack it. Maybe Bitcoin is not, right? Because Bitcoin is one of the oldest and like less hackable infrastructures and protocols and blockchain, right? But other ones, you know. So again, that's a kind of, let's say, I'm getting too in depth into all these things.
No, it was really good. I especially like the first part about how it is identifiable. It is unique.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a absolutely legitimate question of a layperson. Well, if it's online, can I just copy and paste it? And that's a very no. I know that's not the case, but it's a very fair question of somebody who has no idea about it. Well, I have a lot of pictures. I can just copy and paste it and send it to you, and that's it. But
one example I can give that I think this is going to help some people to understand. It's like, so imagine you're making a bank transfer, classically right now, right? So I send you 100 euros. In reality, what's happening is the banks are contacting via networks, like, for example, SEPA or SWIFT or something, right? They're not physically sending a 100 euro bill or 100 euros, you know, to your bank. They're kind of saying that, hey, like, this person is wiring this person this amount of money, and different banks process these things differently, right? But it's not really like 100 euros is traveling from this place to this. Not always, at least. In the blockchain, that's really what's happening. So if I send you 1 Bitcoin, I am really sending you 1 Bitcoin, and you are getting that 1 Bitcoin, right? And this whole process also, again, like going even further and going again to Facebook, right, who want to release their cryptocurrency called Libra, and who have been wanting to do this for a long time. People say that if they do and people start using this, Facebook will be able to track what you spend that money on, because they will know exactly who you sent that money to, what you pay for, how it's being used. And obviously they're going to be using that for advertising purposes. What's it called? Central bank currencies, right? That are planned to be released by different countries. Same thing. There's a lot of argument of people saying that, okay, well, if banks do this, for us as people, it's not going to change anything. But the big difference is that countries will be able to know exactly what you have, how you got it, where you got it from, who you send it to, and that's it. Whereas now it's still kind of, let's say, a gray zone, right? They can only, let's say, interrogate a bank and kind of ask them, and they ask you what are your source of funds, you know, all these things. Whereas if there are CBDCs, which that's what they're called, they'll know everything.
Yeah, I think I read that India is in plans of working on its own cryptocurrency. I think it's one of the first countries to do so. And I think, wasn't it Brazil also kind of an early adopter country?
I think the earliest one is China. China. It's not, again, no one has released anything yet, but I think the earliest one and at least the one that I hear most about is China.
Yeah,
China's still talking about releasing that, and they're testing it, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future.
Yeah. So you mentioned DeFi and CeFi, so decentralized finance and centralized finance, and so one narrative that I see and that I think a lot of pro crypto guys and girls see is that so in some ways, since 2008, we saw very mighty institutions like Wall Street banks or social media companies, Facebook, Twitter, gain so much power that they actually can do a lot of damage with it. So the Russian bots on Facebook, or Twitter censoring the president of the United States of America, I thought, mightiest man in the world. Well, maybe not in our digital world. And one narrative is that some people don't want these institutions to have that much power because, as I said, they can use it for negative things. Depends on the perspective, of course, but to some degree, negative things. And decentralized finance, like cryptocurrency, does not have and I want to emphasize this point for the listeners, does not have a central institution
central governing authority.
Yeah, that is like the sovereign in this regard.
Mm-hmm.
And there people promise themselves and others to have a fairer finance world.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right here?
Yeah, you're right. That was the original idea.
Okay.
that was the original idea. It kind of like it's not going the way that Satoshi anticipated, right? Because at the end of the day, we need to have centralization for security and many other things, right? And the world has not gone the way that Satoshi planned initially. People are still talking about DeFi right now, but it's, as I said, it's very, there are so many projects out there. You never know which one is good, which one is bad. It's gaining a lot of popularity, but again, I think the biggest point is security, and that is, yeah, that's paramount. CeFi is a lot more secure, and you can rest, like you can sleep knowing that your crypto is secure, right, in a CeFi project. Whereas in DeFi, you always have to kind of like think, what's happening there, etc. We've lived through this in 2017, right, when people were releasing tokens, having ICOs, and then like those companies that had ICOs would vanish, and then the tokens would cost nothing. And prior to this year, the end of 2020, like when crypto started going up, crypto had a really bad reputation, to be honest. People heard of crypto, and it still does to some degree. It's getting a lot better because people are talking about it more and more. Elon Musk helped with that as well, with Dogecoin and Bitcoin, etc. But prior to all this, the reputation went kind of like, because so many people lost money, and yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned something very important. How can you, in such a new field that is obviously experiencing a significant hype, how can you, because there are, as in every hype, people that want to rip you off. Just like on Clubhouse, there are a lot of people that want to rip you off and sell you like multi-marketing level guys and scammers and coaches who want to sell you their courses. And
I haven't seen that. Honestly, on Clubhouse, I unfollowed every single person that was going into these weird clubs, rooms. I don't want to see that, I'm only interested in something, like business orientated or, crypto or, more serious. So I'm actually not aware that there are scams on Clubhouse.
Yeah, no, I also only read about it on Twitter and in the news. And but my point is that with every hype, there is people do bullshit with it. That's just the nature of the game. So in the crypto game, do you have some hints for the amateurs to distinguish between like serious, high quality, solid projects from the scams, the fraudulent ones?
If there was a way, there would never be fraud. which is true. I mean, if there was a clear cut, like strategy of how to do it, there wouldn't be any fraud, because people would be like, oh, wait, it doesn't fit these categories, it's a fraud. So no, but again, jokes aside, there are, like checklists that you can fill in and kind of, let's say, use to try and identify a fraudulent project, and at least, make sure that you can put your money into this platform or project or whatever. First of all, it's reputation, right? Have a look online, have a Google search, see what people are saying about the company, see if see what the company's been doing. It's years of existence, right? When did the company come into being? When was it founded? Has it been around for long? Because if it's a project that was founded, let's say, a month ago, and there's massive hype about it, and so it's kind of like, okay, think twice before putting your cash there, or put your cash there, but like put your cash there with the idea that you might lose everything, right? Look at partnerships, right? Go onto the platforms, check out who the platforms who the partners are, right? For example, Nebeus is partnered with one of the biggest, with loads of the biggest financial institutions in the industry. That's like a tick, that kind of shows that like we have reputation, right? And I think last but not least, but this doesn't apply to everything, is licensing, right? If a company is licensed or not. So, which at the same time doesn't play a big role, because let's say a lot of we do not have a license. We are applying for a license. We are, let's say we comply with all UK and EU regulations, but we don't have a license yet. Take some of our competitors, same, they don't have licenses, but they're super great companies with a lot of assets under management, thousands and hundreds of thousands of users, and everything's fine. And they've been around for a long time. So I think it's like a combination of everything that I just said. And if you look at that, if you do an analysis, make up your own mind, go for it. But yeah, I think long story short, do your research.
Okay, license of what? Or for what?
License for operating, because you're operating with money, you're operating with crypto. So you, depending on where you're founded or where your company is, you usually require a license, or do not. It depends on the jurisdiction, etc. That's why I said some companies do have licenses, some don't. But if you're, let's say, if you're a company, an English company, and you have a license, right, that kind of shows that okay, you are regulated by a financial authority. If in the UK you are a licensed institution, that means that you are regulated by the FCA. So that's it. It kind of like it's that itself is trust for you. Yeah.
If it's a stupid question, forgive me, I'm a layperson here too. Do you in Barcelona need to apply for a license with a Spanish institution or with a European?
Spanish.
Okay, so it's still national.
There unfortunately is no European one. In fintech and finance, it's based per country, but then there's a thing that's called passportization. So if you are a licensed institution in Spain, then you can apply for passports, to get a passport to be able to operate in another country, another country, and that's pretty easy to obtain once you have a license in one European country.
I see, yeah. And what else do I got? What are you personally excited about in the crypto space at the moment? Like, what do you personally find interesting?
Yeah, God. Personally, myself, everything, to be honest. I mean, for me, it's kind of like, it's a world that's extremely interesting. Blockchain is interesting. Crypto is interesting. I am interested in DeFi. I do explore a lot. I look at what's happening out there. I'm interested where Bitcoin is going to go. I look at what our competitors are doing. Everything is interesting for me. There's not one thing that I say is like, this is something that grabs my attention. Like, if we look at what our business does, right, is like crypto collateralized loans. And the way, like, again, that you can use crypto more, and crypto becomes more than just an investment. That is it's like, wow, it's like, imagine like someone told you, I don't know, 20 years ago that, hey, you've invested in this stock, right? And then now you can use that stock to access financial services, to earn money, to get loans, etc., without selling that stock. That would have been a revolution at the time, and I mean, it still hasn't happened. Like, the only like asset that you can use for this is crypto. And when I look at the growth of this industry, not just the growth of Bitcoin and the market cap of like cryptocurrencies, when you look at the growth of my industry, of Nebeus's industry, the industry has grown from Q3 2019 to Q4 2020. It grew by, if I'm not mistaken, 1,170%. In terms of collateral that's held by companies like Nebeus, right? By people who actually came in, go to these platforms, give crypto to get loans, right? More than 1,000%, 1,170%. That, like, I actually remember that figure. That's the exact figure.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's worth Q4 2020. It was $24.3 billion. That's also an exact figure. I remember that figure.
Yeah. And
yeah.
Yeah, and when you want to get information about what's up in crypto world, where do you get your information from? Do you have certain crypto sites that you recommend? Because I'm also relatively new to the world.
I really enjoy Cointelegraph.
Cointelegraph, okay.
Yeah, I really enjoy Cointelegraph, but I would really highly recommend you if you have, I don't know, to get the app. If you have the iPhone, they have a really cool iOS app that's really well made. I don't know. I really enjoy the experience. I like when any product is well built, and their app is super well built, easy to understand, no ads, or at least I don't see them, or at least the ads are so well built into their product that you don't see them.
Yeah.
Their desktop version has ads, but the app is amazing. So I use that. Also, Coinbase. Coinbase have a great news section. So if you're on Coinbase, you can trade on Coinbase. Obviously, it's they're, I don't know, actually, have they IPO'd? They're gonna IPO. If they haven't already IPO'd, they're IPOing like now, basically, like soon, or they might have. I might have missed it, but yeah, they're one of the biggest exchanges, in the world.
Yeah.
And they have a pretty decent news section. They have a pretty decent news section, and they actually have widgets that you can put on your iPhone onto your home screen of that news section. So you can have the news really in a small widget popping up, and you can read it. It's nice.
Yeah. Okay, good. If people want to reach out to you, how do they do that? Where do they do that? If you want that at all?
LinkedIn, I guess. Find me on LinkedIn, Michael Stroev. I'm easy to find. If you do reach out to me, please don't send a message, hey, let's connect, because I feel that we should be in the same network. Like, don't do that.
Yeah. The LinkedIn classic.
Yeah, the LinkedIn classic. Hey, I'm expanding my network, and I really feel that we need to be friends. I'm like, well, no. Because at the end of the day, like if I accept that person, and if he posts like crap, I'm sorry, I'm going to say that crap every single day, I see that in my news feed. I don't really want to see that. So I kind of like, I want to filter out who I'm friends with. I know a lot of people have a tendency to accept everyone. I don't. So if you do want to reach out to me, just like to tell me why.
No, sure, yeah. No, I get it. Okay. So on LinkedIn, of course, everything what we talked about is linked in the show notes. I make sure the show notes are filled with all the links. So, Michael, thank you very much for your time. I hope we got our listeners up to speed in the crypto world. You're welcome. If I come to Barcelona when this whole coronavirus thing is more or less over, should we have a beer or coffee? Definitely.
Reach out to me anytime. I mean, us, everything's open right now. Restaurants are open during the day. They're open during the day. They're open in the mornings and during lunch. So you can go have a beer during the day. You can't go in the evening. So I'm really waiting for bars and places to be open at night. But yeah.
Well, you're much luckier than we are in Germany. We are just slowly opening up, but no restaurant and bars so far. No. Yeah. Okay. So again, thank you very much and all the best. Okay.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you.
Good. Okay.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode. For more inspiring lessons and stories from founders and other people who go their own way, please subscribe to the Connecting Dots podcast on whatever podcast player you prefer. It would also help a lot to get further interesting guests in the future if you give the podcast a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Thank you very much.